It was one of those early Saturday mornings where the sun feels like it's watching you jog. You know, too bright, too early. I'd been gone maybe 40 minutes, music blasting, legs burning. The usual therapy after a long week. Nothing unusual, until I turned the corner onto my street. My front door was open. At first, I thought maybe I'd forgotten to lock it. It happens, right? But no, the door wasn't just open. It was wide open. I froze. My brain immediately started throwing worst-case scenarios. A break-in, a wild animal, or worse, my ex trying to check in. I took out one earbud and slowly walked up the driveway. The air felt heavier with every step. My heart was pounding so hard, I could hear it over the faint hum of a lawnmower somewhere down the block. Then I heard voices inside my house. Not burglars. No, these were calm, chatty, bureaucratic voices. The kind that discuss policies over bad coffee. "Hey, what the hell?" I shouted as I pushed the door open. 3 people in neon polo shirts froze mid-conversation in my living room. One was holding a clipboard, another had a measuring tape stretched across my window, and the third, a woman with a tight ponytail and an expression that could sour milk, looked at me like I was trespassing. "Oh, you must be the tenant," she said briskly. "We tried knocking." "Tenant?" I blinked. "I own this house. Who are you?" "We're with the Oak Ridge Homeowners Association," she replied, flipping through her clipboard. "Routine compliance inspection. You weren't home, so we let ourselves in." I laughed, that nervous kind of laugh that comes right before an aneurysm. "Let yourselves in? This is a private property. I'm not even part of your HOA." She gave a dismissive smile. "All homes on this block are under HOA management now. Didn't you get the letter?" "No," I snapped, "because this isn't Oak Ridge. This is Maple Court, different subdivision." Her expression barely flickered. "Well, the boundaries were redrawn last month. At that point, my patience wasn't just thin, it was microscopic. Get out, now." They didn't move. Clipboard lady just sighed and said, "Sir, we're almost done documenting your exterior violations. Please don't interfere." I took a step closer. "Violations? You broke into my house." The man with the tape measure muttered something about non-compliant fencing. That's when I realized they were serious. These people actually believed they had the right to be there. And before I could call the cops, the woman reached for her phone. "Fine," she said coldly. "If you're refusing inspection, we'll escalate this to the HOA board." My blood ran cold. Escalate? To who? I didn't even belong to them. I stood there, breathing hard in my own house, surrounded by strangers with clipboards. Something told me this was just the beginning. By Monday morning, I'd convinced myself it was over. Maybe it was a mistake, a mix-up, wrong address, whatever. Bureaucracy messes up all the time. I changed my locks, installed a camera by the porch, and figured I could move on. Then the letter arrived. It was slipped neatly under my door. No stamp, no envelope. Just a single sheet of paper, with a red Oak Ridge HOA header and my name printed perfectly at the top. Notice of non-compliance, unapproved paint color, unauthorized fence height, and landscaping violations. Failure to comply within 7 days will result in fines and possible lien action. A lien. They were threatening to fine me and put a lien on my property. A property not even under their jurisdiction. I grabbed my phone and called the number listed on the letter. After a few rings, that same sharp voice from before, ponytail clipboard lady, answered. "Hello, Oak Ridge HOA office. This is Sandra speaking." I clenched my jaw. "Sandra, it's me. The guy whose house you broke into on Saturday." A pause. Then, in the most patronizing tone humanly possible. "Oh, yes, Mr. Miller. I was just about to follow up. Did you receive your notice?" "Yeah, I got it," I snapped. "You've got the wrong house, Sandra. I live in Maple Court. We're not part of Oak Ridge." "I understand your confusion," she replied smoothly. "The HOA boundary realignment was finalized this quarter. Your address falls within Oak Ridge management now." "By whose authority?" "The board's, of course." I wanted to scream. "You mean the board I never agreed to be part of? The board that broke into my house?" Sandra sighed, as if she were dealing with a stubborn child. "Mr. Miller, no one broke in. Our staff had authorization under Section 4.3 of the Compliance Access Clause." Access Clause? I could feel my pulse in my throat. "I never signed anything." "Well," she said, voice tightening, "then you'll need to take it up with the board directly. But I must warn you, non-cooperation can affect your standing. Standing. The word echoed like a bad joke. I hung up before I said something regrettable. By noon, I had 3 missed calls from an HOA field officer and 1 voicemail politely informing me they'd be revisiting my property for documentation. I wasn't paranoid. I was being stalked by an HOA, so I did what any sane person would do. I started recording everything. Cameras outside, voice memos inside. That night, as I reviewed footage from my new porch cam, I nearly dropped my phone. There they were. 2 HOA staffers, flashlights in hand, walking around my yard like surveyors in the dark. One of them took photos of my mailbox. My mailbox. I opened the window and shouted, "Get off my property!" They looked up, startled. Then one of them calmly said, "Sir, please contact the board before escalating further." Escalating further? My hands were shaking. From anger this time, not fear. If they wanted escalation, they were about to get it. 2 days later, I walked into the Oak Ridge HOA office like a man walking into enemy territory. The place was too clean. The kind of sterile, over-air-conditioned office that smells like printer ink and misplaced authority. The receptionist greeted me with that HOA smile. Polite, empty, vaguely threatening. "Hi, name please." "Miller," I said. "The guy whose house you people broke into." Her smile didn't even flicker. "Oh, Mr. Miller, you're here for the board review, correct?" I hadn't scheduled one, but sure enough, she handed me a visitor badge labeled Complaint Hearing. Inside the conference room sat 5 people, all dressed like middle management, all wearing the same smug expression that said, "We know what's best for you." At the center of the table was Sandra, the clipboard queen herself. "Mr. Miller," she began with mock warmth, "thank you for coming in voluntarily." "Voluntarily isn't the word I'd use," I muttered, taking a seat. The man beside her, board chair, according to the nameplate, leaned forward. "We understand you're confused about your community's recent inclusion into Oak Ridge's jurisdiction." "Confused," I said, laughing bitterly. "Let's start with angry, then move to violated. You broke into my house, twice, and now you're sending fines for a neighborhood I don't even belong to." Sandra's eyes narrowed. "Our entry was lawful under the access clause." "Stop saying that," I snapped. "There is no clause. You can't quote something I never signed." The chair raised his hand like a judge. "Please remain civil, Mr. Miller. We're simply enforcing compliance." "Compliance with what? I never joined your HOA." He exchanged a look with Sandra, then slid a folder toward me. Inside was a map, my street highlighted in red. "As of July 1st, he said, tapping the map, the Oak Ridge community absorbed Maple Court under revised zoning boundaries. The city approved it." My stomach dropped. "You mean someone redrew the lines, and you think that means you own my house now?" "Not own," he said calmly. "Manage, maintain standards." I stared at him, half expecting a hidden camera to pop out. "You people don't maintain standards. You enforce control." Sandra's tone sharpened. "If you continue resisting compliance, we may need to place a lien or escalate to municipal enforcement." Something in me snapped. "You broke into my home. You took photos. You trespassed on private property. And you think I'm the one out of line?" The room went quiet. Then Sandra leaned back, voice cold and certain. "Mr. Miller, your hostility will be noted in the report." That was it. I stood, grabbed the folder and said, "Then note this too. If I see one more person from your HOA near my property, I'm calling the police." The chair sighed, muttering something about non-compliance protocol. As I walked out, the receptionist gave me that same robotic smile. "Have a pleasant day, Mr. Miller." Outside, I sat in my car, gripping the steering wheel. My phone buzzed, a notification from my porch camera. "Movement detected, 2:41 p.m. Front door." I glanced at the timestamp, 2:41. I'd been in that meeting at 2:41. My heart sank. They were at my house. Again, by the time I got home, my chest was tight and my hands were shaking. I barely remember the drive, just the dull roar of adrenaline and the sound of my turn signal clicking like a metronome counting down to a breakdown. When I pulled into the driveway, I saw them. 2 HOA staffers standing on my front porch, holding clipboards and a camera. Again, I slammed the car door and stormed up the steps. "You people are insane. Get the hell off my property." The younger guy stammered. "Sir, we're just..." "Don't even finish that sentence," I snapped. "You're trespassing." Then I noticed the door, slightly ajar again, My stomach dropped. I shoved it open. Inside, the place was a mess. Not trashed, but disturbed. My rug was rolled up, my curtains pulled aside, my pictures shifted like someone had been inspecting the walls. And on my kitchen counter sat another HOA notice, this time in a plastic sleeve like some kind of trophy. Final warning. Failure to comply will result in legal enforcement. I turned, trembling with rage. You broke in again. The woman, probably no older than 30, looked genuinely confused. We didn't break in. The board authorized a safety inspection. There was concern about your foundation. My foundation? I laughed, the kind of laugh that sounds more like a growl. You're lucky I don't call the cops right now. Sir, please don't escalate this. You escalated it! I pulled out my phone, hit record, and walked straight up to them. Say that again. Tell the camera why you're inside my house without permission. They froze. The younger one muttered something about documentation, but the woman just turned to leave, whispering, He's being non-compliant again. I followed them out to the driveway, filming the whole time. You're done here. The police will handle it from now on. That night, I filed the report. Forced entry, property tampering, harassment. The officer who took my statement seemed sympathetic but skeptical. HOA trespassing, he said. That's new. I showed him the videos, the letters, the timestamps. By the end, his eyebrows were nearly on top of his head. He promised to look into it. The next morning, there was another knock. I hesitated, half expecting Sandra or her clipboard brigade, but it was the same officer, this time with a grin that said, You won't believe this. You were right, he said. We checked the records. Your street was never officially annexed into Oak Ridge. The HOA has zero legal authority over your property. It took a second for that to sink in. So, I asked slowly, they've been trespassing illegally this whole time? He nodded. Yup. And the city's opening an investigation. They'll be hearing from a lawyer soon. I just stood there stunned. All the fear, anger, and absurdity of the past week hit me at once. And I started laughing. It wasn't funny, but it felt like the only thing left to do. Week later, I got one last letter. No header this time, just a single sentence typed on plain paper. We regret the misunderstanding. No signature, no name, just silence after chaos. Now every morning when I jog past the HOA office, I slow down just long enough to wave at their cameras. Petty? Maybe. But after everything they pulled, I'd earned it.